transition. And we are live with episode 30 of the Pathfinders podcast. I am Tree0311, here with my good friend and partner in crime.
Hello, I am Nazeris.
What am I, Nazars? And we are the Pathfinders, we're charting the way through all the nebulous information surrounding Star Citizen and its development. Um, yeah, it
Button.
looks like
Okay.
I forgot to look at the volume bars before I switch this over. Nazar, say a few words.
Hello, how is everyone? I am Nazeris. I do things badly.
When it comes to audio, it looks like we are both in sync, and the audio volume is good to go. Excellent. So
Actually,
yeah,
I just saw
oh,
my couch in the background. It's actually coming out rather well.
you saw your. Oh yeah, you've got
All
your.
my stuffed animals. Yeah.
I see a Finley.
So the
And
orange thing is a lizard doggo from Satisfactory, and then I have no idea where the thing is. I can't see it live. But anyway, on this side we have from the edge in a. There goes the names. Dinosaur from Belzy, a stuffed animal company, a turtle from Belzy, and then a just a tiny teddy bear from a local department store. That was a gift.
I
Like I
have
have
a.
like dozens more, but these are the small ones that are still inside because there was a point where I'm like, oh no, I should probably like clean up all these stuffed animals and get rid of them or something, put them in storage. Until I'm like 6 months to a year later, I'm like, wait a minute, I enjoy these. Why would I get rid of them? Hold on, I'm gonna be a stuffed animal person.
You're an adult. You can have what you want. I've got.
Exactly,
I have
exactly. So,
Nerf guns, so you know.
so I got Finley. I probably won't get a Pico, even though like that was just my home. But it's kind of like you don't get the mascot of the city you live in because you're so done with it.
I guess that
So
makes sense. Yeah.
I don't exactly enjoy Pico, but Finley's cool.
I'm gonna
We also
apologize for
need.
my voice because I am still dealing with a cold because I have a 10, 11 month
We'll turn
old.
on the heat.
Yeah, and he just he's a little booger germ factory and has to go to daycare. So yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
feeling under the weather. Yeah, I mean, I have a Pico, I have a Finley. I bought my son. He has. They're not stuffed animals, but it's a plushy smoke grenade, hand grenade,
Nice.
and a landmine, and so he has those in his crib, and they squeak. So you can step on the landmine and it squeaks instead of blows up and takes off your legs.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
but yeah, we've got the so we have some we Nazareth and I are sad pandas right now because our plans for this evening did not come to fruition. Nazareth,
It
we
will
want
happen, just not
to
currently.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen, just not tonight, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, we had planned and coordinated with Shiny Hobo of the Shinytracker fame to come on, and we were going to interview him to talk to him about what he does and why he does it with the Shiny Tracker, and hopefully. I had a few more questions. I was like, okay, make sure that we're understanding this right, so we're not giving bad information, because it's not like the Shiny Tracker comes with like a detailed instruction manual. But I've been reading through the things again to try and make sure. Okay, I want to make sure I'm understanding it right because it does portray a lot of information. But he had to back out at the last minute, so we're still going to cover the Roadmap Roundup this evening, um, as well as the Shiny Tracker Delta report. And then we had planned to do it a little bit later the next time, but luckily Nazareth was able to gather all the information and collate it into a spectrum pulse for us on RaStar, which is the tool that they showed off. Was it last? It was last week's IC, right? Or was it the week before? I'm getting my dates wrong. Uh,
The next episode? 21st is the next
the
episode?
The one on the 3rd.
22nd?
Yeah, so it was not this last week or the week before is when they did the ISC with the Cargo Refactor and RaStar. So yeah, we're doing a spectrum pulse on the RaStar tool because they just talked about it, made a big announcement on it. Nazeris and I have been following its development via the monthly reports and eagerly awaiting, getting an update on it. And now we have one. And so we figured we would talk about its journey from CitizenCon last year to the present, and what the whole point of RaStar is and why it's so dang cool. Because if there's anything that Nazeris and I like, it's tools and UI, but mostly tools. Yeah.
And chunks of gameplay. And RaStar is one of those things. When it's turned on, it will be turned on tier. We're gonna call it tier player. Is what we're gonna call it. When tier player is turned on, that will be in a chunk of gameplay.
Oh,
Wow, tree's dying. Poor tree.
Well, and I've been taking Dayquil all day, and it's like not doing anything for me.
Oof.
And I have to leave for work tomorrow and fly to New Mexico, and I'll be gone for 5 days. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. Oh well, we will prevail. So let's go ahead and transition into. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna pull the right screen up. So we'll start off with our Roadmap Roundup review, and Nazeris, if you want to take the lead on that.
Ready?
And
I have way too many windows.
I think I've got the 2, and 3, 2, 1. Hooray! Oh, and before you get started, I forgot to mention, and I just need to make sure I do this every time. Again, for everyone who's watching right now and will be watching in the future on YouTube, all content on my channel, both this and YouTube, any monetization goes to stackup.org. Everything I do is for charity. And if you watch us live, you can use the little charity button thing on your Twitch page in order to donate if you want to donate directly to stackup.org. But if you decide you enjoy the content that Nazeris and I put out and the other, my co-hosts from the other shows and everything else that I do, if you like what I do and you don't want to see commercials and you want to subscribe, that money will also go to charity. And so the goal that's on the top of the screen is order to get to the goal is 10 subscribers, because I think that 10 subscribers will get me to $50 worth of monetization before the end of the year. Wow. And that's when Nazeris lets you, or not Nazeris, sorry. Wait. I have to wait for Nazeris to give me permission. I have to wait for Nazeris to give me permission. He's in charge here. But that's when Twitch.
I do not want that. I do not like business, so no thanks.
That's when Twitch allows you to do a payout, is at $50. And so the goal for me is to get $50 worth of monetization via ads, subscribers, the whole shebang by the end of the year. So that way I can take that payout and give it to stackup.org on top of all the other money that we've raised. And when I take that payout and give it to stackup.org, I'm going to match it with my own funds. So that's going to my goal is to make that the Christmas present, New Year's gift, whatever, to StackUp, is $100 between me and the subscribers and the people who watch the show. So if you're feeling generous, please consider donating. It's a great cause. But Nazeris, take it from here, bud.
All right. Roadmap Roundup 11/09/22 at 1 p.m. I always like to read the intro paragraphs that CIG writes because, one, it's by CIG, two, it kind of gives you the intent and a good blurb on what to look forward to in the following document. So, happy Wednesday, everyone! Obviously posted on Wednesday. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communication more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup, the CIG community team. All right.
And that the reason for context, the reason Nazeris likes reading that is because the context is important, and sometimes it's just the copy paste generic one that they do, and other times they put very good information in there. And so many people will come to the Roadmap Roundup and instantly scroll down and go to the release view or go to other stuff.
Yeah,
And
when
they
there's like a
will
team change or something, it's in that front paragraph.
exactly, yes. And people miss out on really important information, and that really important information is the stuff that Nazareth and I really try to make sure that we are up to date on, and that's why Nazareth always makes sure to read it, because if you don't read it, it didn't happen. So
Yeah, that's one of the things how we try and differentiate the Pathfinders from most other content, where it's most other content, not all of it, but most of the content is just hit the main points and move on. Like a really solid form factor is like time travel this way, time travel this, and show it on the progress tracker. Move on. But we try and cover at least get the at least meaning of every single word into the show, if not every single word. All right. So notable changes for November 9th, 2022. Release view. The following cards have been added to the release view slated for the release in Alpha 3.18. So, for a little bit of context, we are getting the AIE update, which is 3.17.4, I believe.
the the IAE is just IAE is just 3.17.4, or
Okay.
sorry, 3.17.4 is just IAE.
Yes, and most likely accompanying ships that are done that do not need any of the tech in 3.18 specifically. So no Vulture. We won't get an update to the big honking ship thing. Was it called Reclaimer? That stuff is still going to be pushed back into when we actually get the salvage update in 3.18. So, other things that are coming in 3.18, as per this release view, time trial race missions. For some reason, I read this, and it went straight through my head, and I said, oh yeah, the maps they talked about in ISC. Moving on. Missions? Hold on. Time trial race missions are being added throughout the Stanton system, and go see the last ISC for last ISC and last SCL for the some of the tracks that they're adding. There are beautiful tracks. Players will be able to test their skills versus set times. There we go. Earning rewards based on performance and unlocking more tracks in any progress. This may sound like just another tiny mission. This is the beginning of actual race career in the game. But this is actually kind of big.
Oh, pardon me. No, they just showed off the new racetracks on ISC a couple days ago, and they look super cool.
I really like the Grimhex one. I really like it, and there's some squadron assets in there.
Yeah, the way they were able to reuse all sorts of stuff to just make something new, that ability that the location designers have blows me away every time. They're like, oh, okay, well, we have this giant pile of stuff, and we've
literally thousands of assets.
Yeah, if you're a Lego fan, and you've ever played with Legos and taken Legos and made something completely new and different from a set, that you had that has instructions, like that's what they're doing. Like whenever I see that, it just reminds me of when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, I got this set, and now I'm going to take all the pieces and make something different out of it. And they have sets that are designed that way to make multiple things out of it, and it's super cool that they can restructure it to make something entirely new.
And that's basically all. That's basically all what environmental art is. There's a channel, I think it's Seku, SCKOO, I think it is. And he's a kind of freelance environmental artist. I forget if he started in Blender, Unreal, or Unity. Either way, I think it was actually Unity, I think. His entire job and his entire YouTube channel is building scenes. For his YouTube specifically, it's building them from a certain camera point. So he'll pick a camera point and he'll make the terrain, put trees on it, and frame it, right? When you get to like a game or a product, you want multiple angles so they can do the camera work and the cinematography around the environment. But environmental art is Lego building in digital space. The 3D artist, 2D artist give you their work, and you just plop it in spots. So if you guys are interested in like Lego building, digital placing of it, or creating scenes, I'd look into that. It could be a very rewarding career branch endeavor, rewarding endeavor. There we go. I can get there. I can words.
And
All
didn't
right.
they
So
say
would you like?
with the ISC
Yes.
that there was going to be more racetracks coming soon? Like they're already
Yes.
working on
So
some?
like I
I
said,
do.
this is the
Okay, I didn't.
start.
You're wrong.
This is the start of an
Hmm.
entire career. Like the mining career is not done yet, and you see how much gameplay's there. We've heard about the echoes of what cargo running is going to be, and that's going to be pretty dense. Racing is going to be its own career. There will be pit crews. There will be sponsors. There will be
Lots of
planned
in-game
event
events.
racing.
Hmm.
Like there's going to be legal, illegal racing. So the stuff around Grimhex will be classified as illegal. I mean, most of the tracks we have are illegal racing. But when we get, I forget what planet it is. Is it Castle? It's not Castle. The
Oh,
planet with the Murray Cup tracks.
I always forget the name of the system. I know what you're talking about, but yeah,
Is it Goss? Is it the Goss system?
I want to say it's in Goss. Yeah, and isn't the main planet in Goss Castle? I'm so
Is
bad
that
with
Goss? Did
names.
I actually get that right? Okay, I'll look that up as you do the render. But hey,
Oh yeah,
this is going to be a
it's
very dense like loop because there's going to be a lot of, and one of the best parts about it is it's very interactive, not just you flying your ship, but seeing spectators. So there'll be spectators around the track when you're doing a legal kind of run of it. And there'll be just stuff to do. You'll just be going places and doing things. It is a traveling gameplay loop, and I just think that's an amazing thing. And I will probably do that for a while when it actually is the full loop.
too many people
Just
dismiss the lore about all the racing stuff that has come out over the years as just fluff. And it's like, no, that's going to be a major part of the game. Is racing and not just in
hmm
ships too. I'm like,
I mean,
I want ground race tracks, like so you can,
can they say
I
something
not
about
just
ground
the
race
go kart.
tracks?
I really want to do the whole doot 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 on Hurston, with Steve. That just sounds like so
hmm
much fun to have an enduro race, but on
Can we get
on a racetrack, not just
Gravlev?
a route.
Can we get a Gravlev a la Speed Racer track in ArtCorp?
Yeah. Ooh, man.
Mm.
Yeah, that ArtCorp track really, gosh, especially when they add weather and stuff. Oh my. Okay. Getting
And
ahead of
like I
ourselves.
noticed the cards the second they turned the screen onto ArtCorp. Like we
Mhm.
said, we like UI stuff. The card system is the upgrade, the jacked version of building blocks. We now have building blocks plus cards, and that's basically 3D UI in the environment. And so the gates, I'm pretty sure, not confirmed, pretty sure the gates in ArtCorp for the racetracks are made out of cards.
Yeah. Yeah, just like that thing that they showed us in the ISC a little while ago, when they were showing off the new UI, and that character walked out into, I think it was like a
That was
hangar.
that was CitizenCon, wasn't it?
No, it was before that. It was on an
Was
ISC,
it?
I think.
I thought that was CitizenCon.
No, remember because
Anyway.
he walked out and he had to like walk through. There was like a
hmm
almost like a warning sign or something, and he walked through that. That's the same system.
Oh, the elevator.
But yeah,
Yeah. That was the elevator. The hangar UI was CitizenCon. The There was also warning, like little 6-inch tall warning labels on the tracks in the underground bunkers. Basically, a whole bunch of awesome UI stuff
yeah.
is happening. So would you like to progress us with the Gen
Sure.
12
Sorry.
scene?
Also being added to the release for Alpha 3.18 is the Gen 12 scene renderer. New rendering architecture to improve performance. This milestone renders every scene object. Every scene object. So everything in the scene, everything that you see will be rendered via Gen 12. Renders every scene object through the new renderer with optimizations and additional features such as Vulkan coming in the future. And so they just went over this in a recent ISC as well. And just with the base version, like, we're getting tier 1 Gen 12, no optimizations, or just it's the final conversion is done. just with the final conversion, there's a 33% improvement in
Frame
in the
times.
time to render the scene, basically to send the instructions over to the GPU, to the point where the the render thread is outperforming, or the render thread is
Yeah.
outperforming the main thread, or was it vice
And
versa?
aren't they still working on
Yeah,
parallelizing
the
the main thread?
parallelism comes with Vulkan. So
Yeah,
that's
the
one of the things that Vulkan does.
parallelizing that, but didn't they say they're working on more parallelizing the main thread?
I don't know. I
I'm
just
pretty sure they
remember
said
that
that.
Vulkan allowed for parallelization, so that way there
Words,
is
man.
no longer a render thread and a main thread. They can
Mm,
run things in
yeah,
parallel. In yeah, um,
yeah.
but
Gonna be good.
the
Gonna be good.
everybody is going to see improvements. Some people will see more than others depending on your machine, but everybody is going. Yeah,
That five
say
times
that
fast.
5 times fast.
No.
Nope, not possible. Can't do it.
Unless you're a graphics programmer, you can't do it. They have a
Yeah.
special ability to say parallelize and parallelism.
hmm but the other thing about Gen 12 that a lot of people forget, and Ray's Guide has done a really good job of talking about this, and unfortunately, not enough people watch him. But there are two limitations to the player cap in the game. And one is absolute dispersion. So that is a server side limitation. Um, and if you have all 100 players in the server spread out all over the place, that means that the server has to track all the entities around every player, and so that makes a lot, it increases the workload on the server an absolute crap ton. But then the other limitation is absolute concentration. And so, will the game perform client side as well as server side if all the players are concentrated into a given area, like for an event, whether it's CIG or player generated? Well, the Gen 12 renderer all but eliminates the issue with absolute concentration for now. When we get to Vulkan, and when we get more optimizations for Gen 12 and then get to Vulkan as well, that will be what will take us from what we're getting with Gen 12, which will allow for more absolute concentration of players. And that'll be fine for static server meshing. But as we progress to dynamic server meshing, the optimizations for Gen 12 and the addition of Vulkan and parallelization is what will allow us to have not just hundreds, but up to thousands of players in a given area. And not like within the hall of the IAE, but within a given like object container having a large fleet battle. Because not only does the servers have to track the entities and the player interactions, but you also have to be able to render those things on screen. And without Gen 12, you can't do that. So we have overcome a major hurdle with that getting added.
And a bit further looking, Vulkan gives support for embedded ray tracing, which
Mm-hmm.
can be used not only for lighting and reflections and ambient occlusion, but also they said they wanted to look into using it for sound. Um, and also VR. And they already have several developers not working on it, but preparing for VR. They've wanted
Sylvan
to
is
do
all over
VR
that.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
They had VR not support, but VR ability in the early days. They lost it over the rendering updates and the two different. Was it two? I know they switched to Lumberyard, but there was like a switch in the middle. Oh yes, they changed versions of the CryEngine, and then they switched to Lumberyard. Um, so over all the updates, they lost support to hack in support for the Oculus. And yes, it was the Oculus that people got to work. But they will have full VR support someday after Vulkan. And I, for one, is very, very looking forward to that. Like it's gonna make the world seem so much bigger. All right. So, the following cards have passed their final review for 318, therefore they are changing their status to blue. I mean committed. Sandbox Prison Activities. Things to do in prison. Expansion of prison gameplay with a new suite of missions and sandbox activities to give inmates more opportunities to earn merits or to aid in their escape from prison. I think this is more of like an addition, not the whole prison gangs thing that they want to add. By the way, thank you, Del Kenobi.
Oh, Del Kenobi.
Del Kenobi.
Just donated $25 to Stack Up. Thank you so much, Del. You are a mad lad, 07. Appreciate you. We're up to $180 on this campaign. First goal was set. See, that's weird. Every time somebody donates, it changes the goal to something else not related to me. I think it changes it to like the Stack Up's the goal, like the actual Twitch account for Stack Up. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Can I post a spec to them? I think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that says I'm still learning Twitch, so by all means, and if you
Until we have somebody doing something wrong.
Yeah, eventually I'm gonna have to learn how to moderate, but so far I haven't.
You get a bot, is what you do.
Yeah.
Until you have someone who can just sit there and be your moderator, yeah, get a bot.
Is that a
hello?
Ranger? We're gonna take a quick pause and.
Hello? What have you done? What have you done? You one link and you've derailed the entire stream. Do you see what you've done?
Mother of God! Oh wait.
Is it though?
I don't know. It might be another hover.
It looks like a Can-Am. What's the one with the two front wheel? Oh, the fenders.
Open a new tab. Oops. Hold on. I have to.
I mean, Can-Am is kind of like it, yeah. Was this? Where was this? What was this in?
This was in
Sneak peek.
ISC?
Okay. No, Friday's sneak peek. So now I need to go to my email. Whose part is next? So if we can do one and research at the same time. It is you on the progress tracker.
Oh,
so I can still research. You go do your job. Because the name's
following
important.
deliverables have been added to the progress tracker. The Crusader Spirit, and Jake apologized. No worries, Axis. We totally appreciate it. We're all about that stuff. Yeah. The Crusader Spirit, building, balancing, and implementing Crusader Industries' small multi-cruise ship, the Spirit, into the game. And we'll actually pull up the Crusader Spirit deliverable on the progress tracker in just a minute, so that way we can see where it is as far as the scheduled work for it. Due to the vehicle awaiting a gameplay dependency from Squadron 42, this deliverable has been temporarily removed from the progress tracker. Anvil Legionnaire. So the Anvil Legionnaire was supposed to go into production if it's in the beginning of the year. Xylo says this is the correct answer in the post about the Ranger, so maybe.
What?
Oh dear. Okay, it's okay to be derailed. That happens. We are squirrels.
Hold on.
Is that a Ranger?
Oh no, he's replying to Sasquatch. Never mind. That's not. He's replying to Sasquatch. He's replying to someone else. Yeah, open it up. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. That's funny.
I don't think it's
well done, Scrundle. Well done,
Ranger. I'm gonna vote no on that.
I think it's probably one of the hovers. What's the new one?
If it's not announced,
the hover
don't
quad.
tell me. Oh, okay. The
quad. So due to the vehicle awaiting a gameplay dependency from Squadron 42.
Oh no, I see it.
This deliverable has been temporarily removed from the progress tracker. Anvil Legionnaire. The Legionnaire is supposed to go into production in the beginning of the year. It's getting removed. So what gameplay dependency, this is not hard, for Squadron 42 do we think that the Legionnaire could be waiting on? What does the Legionnaire do?
It boards.
It boards, but it has hacking. And hacking is being worked on for Squadron 42 right now. So the question is, where is hacking? Is hacking what's causing the delay for the Legionnaire and why it's not going into production just yet? Or is it something else? I think it's hacking. I don't think that there's anything else secret about it because we already have
no
docking and such. So that's
yeah,
my guess.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I have no way of showing you this on stream. Where is the button? I know there's a button for it. Create secondary camera. Secondary screen. Was it screen 1? Yes, share screen 1. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if you can see this. It's on
Is it in
VOD.
Discord?
VOD.
VOD. Okay.
In case you want to try and put it up.
Yeah, 1 second. I gotta find that tab. So copy.
I know how that feels.
And bear with us 1 second. And
okay, I just made a terrible drawing that I'm trying to show Tree.
Okay, your screen is up now.
Oh, okay, you put it up. Okay, so. Oh no, what happened? Nope. Why is it doing? There we go. So I don't know if you see what I see, but I can see the Ranger now.
Oh. Maybe.
But this is an insanely blurry image, so tinfoil hats and all the caveats, this is by no means a confirmation. This is a sneak peek. This is like less than a community meeting about announcing something. This is not anything. And we have been assured that if we know the name of the ship, it is on the progress tracker named. And if the Ranger is not on the progress tracker being worked on, then it is not being worked on. So they can't blindside us with, oh, by the way, the Ranger's done.
And the Ranger was pulled from the progress tracker.
So either this was the current spot or this is just art. It's probably not done. It's not coming out in 3.18. So remember, they need vehicle tech, and vehicle tech is currently working on server meshing. So probably not, but it'd be nice if this was like, hey, we're about to be working on this again. It'd be nice. It'd be really, really nice. All right, you can sit back to that roadmap now.
Okay, let's see. And
rabbit hole done.
All right. So just like I said, here is the sprint for the Crusader Spirit. So here's the concept art sprint for it. They could have been doing concept art for it prior to this. We don't know, because there's plenty of stuff that was worked on before the advent of the progress tracker, which was started in the beginning of Q1 2021. So they may have just picked it back up. But here's the concept art, and it's already in production. And this sprint for the EU vehicle content team goes all the way out to June. Usually when things go out toward, close to the end of the length of the progress tracker, it means that they're going out to the very end, but not all teams are on the same schedule. So I'm going to assume that this sprint for EU vehicle content goes out to the end of June and will probably continue into Q3. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's not a huge ship, so who knows? We'll just have to keep an eye on it. We will be getting that Q3 quarter for the downstream teams added soon. Should be end of the year-ish, or yeah, I think so. Trying to remember the cadence. Anyway, so let's get back to the Delta report for the progress tracker. So, interestingly enough, and I want to. I meant to ask Jake about this, and I forgot. So, the Anvil Crucible was removed from the progress tracker, and
That's not so good.
so
I wonder if that's a delay of the next tier of repair.
Well, it was initially they removed the production sprint from it, and then it was still having concept art sprint, and then that got removed as well. So it is not having its full reconcept. But deliverables removed. Anvil Crucible, unannounced ship. This unannounced ship is the deliverable, or the Crusader Spirit. They just took off this one and replicated it with the name of the Spirit. But they said they were removing the Anvil Legionnaire. Why isn't it up here? But it's not under deliverables. Oh wait, okay. So they removed the production sprint for the Anvil Legionnaire because there's the concept work. Okay, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, let's work our way down through the Delta report, and we'll look at a few interesting things. So deliverables added the Spirit, time trial race missions, which we know about now. Added another unannounced vehicle. Let's take a look at that.
This is like one of my favorite parts about just. I wonder what this is. 5 pages later, aha! I have theories. Ooh, that's a smaller ship.
Well, I mean, it's 28 weeks of concept art. I mean,
that's a Connie-size concept phase.
It depends too. So let's go vehicle concept art, and it was it this one?
Yeah,
28 weeks. One artist though. So one artist for
28 that's weeks. A Connie-size vehicle.
Versus, 2 artists for 67 weeks on this one.
Even though the Spirit was only 6 weeks and the Corsair was only Spirit was 7, Corsair was 6. The Mule was 33, so not exact science.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, so the other thing to remember is there's the weeks, but there's also looking at.
That's true. We have to double check.
You'd have to go into each one of those things into the scheduled deliverables report and trying to figure out which one is which.
And you can also pull up the. Why is the Mule not on the Shiny Tracker?
That's the only thing that's really hard is trying to track things on the Delta report, also on the scheduled deliverables report, because there isn't a consistent thing on the scheduled deliverables report of all the things that they're working on. So you can't be like, okay, I want to look at this sprint vehicle concept art for this ship because it's 60 some odd weeks, says it's full time, but we don't know if they picked it up, put it down, all that.
That's why that's actually in Shiny Tracker. There we go. Corsair. The only thing. Oh wait, and Corsair. The Mule's not on the Shiny Tracker. Or at least hasn't been updated on the Shiny Tracker in the past little while. But anyway, you can go to the Shiny Tracker, and that one, and you can go to a deliverable and click on the teams, which the Corsair apparently does not have a concept team.
Yeah, well, because if it's I think these are just the things that are being worked, but these are just things being worked on right now. If it's not being worked on, it isn't on this list, and so
we have to go back to the one with the concept artist. Let's see. Yeah, vehicle content, vehicle feature.
So
Let's
right
see, new
now,
mission,
there's one,
experience.
2, 3, 4 unannounced vehicles being worked on right now.
I thought he had like an exhaustive list of literally every deliverable.
So yeah, this is that new one, I think, is the one we were just looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That one's being worked on right now. And is this a different one? Or was it this one? 28 weeks? Yeah. Yeah, so there's two artists working on concept art for ships right now, but you can see that one of them was okay, they worked on it for like a week here, and now they're working on it through here, and then they come off of it. That's what these dots mean. So this is the entire length of that sprint. Well, let's see. So this one. Okay, here we go. So
Sure.
it looks like this artist is working on this vehicle for 37 weeks straight. That is not how it works. That artist started working on it here, worked on it for like a week or so, or 2 weeks, whatever these are, I forget. Then stopped working on it, then started working on it again, and then stops working on it. That's how that works. They're not working on it the entire length of that sprint, but there's no way for the progress tracker on the website to delineate them picking up and putting it down like they do on the scheduled deliverables report. That's why this is so important. And there's like no way for any one human being who's not some sort of savant to track all these things. But Nazeris and I will look at the scheduled deliverables report for different items that we're interested in to see these better delineations of the sprints. I think that makes sense. Does that make sense, Naz?
Yes.
So yeah, let's get back to
Sorry, I'm down the rabbit hole trying to find the concept phase of the Corsair.
Well, that's not getting worked on anymore, so it shouldn't.
No, I'm going back in time through the Shinytracker
Oh, the
reports.
previous reports. I got you.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm going back in time trying to find it. I think I found it. 2 design devs working vehicle content, though, not vehicle concept art. So I might not be there yet.
So, yeah, they added another unannounced vehicle. The first deliverable that was updated is the one that is the most interesting to me. Is Bounty Hunter V2. The end date has moved closer from the 22nd of May 2023 to the 28th of March 2023. So it got moved up from towards the end of May to the end of March. Well, what's the end of March? That's Q1 patch. But it didn't get moved up because they removed work. They added a crap ton of work. There's a whole bunch of people working on Bounty Hunter V2. And all of these people that are working on it are, let's see, whoops, wrong one. So EU Landing Zone 2 mission feature and USPU gameplay feature. Oh, whoops, I need to open that.
No, I don't want to see
Bring it
it
over
stuff.
here.
I want to see it announce something.
So downstream teams, EU Landing Zone 2, mission feature, USPU gameplay feature team. So those teams got their schedule and had their work added to Bounty Hunter V2. Those are upstream teams. So they get their schedules way out in advance, and their work is only going out to that far. This is a really good indicator for Bounty Hunter V2. Can we say for certainty that it's for Q1? No, absolutely not. But the sprints for the background services, that support Bounty Hunter V2 have not gotten updated in a while. We talked about those when we did our bounty hunting is a, I forget what the quote is, but bounty hunting is a dangerous profession or whatever. When we did a whole Spectrum Pulse on Bounty Hunter V2 because there's a bunch of backend services that are part of the Quantum package that Bounty Hunter V2 runs on. Well, those services are most likely done, and that's why these teams are doing this work in order to bring the gameplay to fruition. That's why CR was saying in the letter from the chairman that you're going to have bounty hunting before the end of the year. Well, that's not going to happen, but that's when he thought the 319 was going to be the Q4 patch, and 318 was going to be the Q3 patch, because they're working so hard on the back-end services for bounty hunting and working on everything else for it. We already know that they're working on it because they've been mentioning things for it in the monthly reports. Here it is.
To make a long story long, like we made an entire episode on the Quantum, what exactly Bounty Hunter V2, and why it depends on virtual AI.
Virtual AI, the NPC scheduler, the AI, I think it's AI tracker. There's 4 or 5 different services that it is dependent on. Kind of like how PES is dependent on 18 new services. Same thing. But
I cannot wait to be there when it's like, yep, 318.
Yeah.
Everything just breaks. Everything breaks.
So yeah, the Bounty Hunter V update is very exciting to me. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. The building interiors was extended. Yeah, and that's kind of to be expected. That sprint went out to the end of March, and it's going out to the end of June now. Probably will, that's probably one of those things that's going to continue for a while, even though they might get added in early. That sprint might just, continue to grow and grow and grow as they do more and more work and add more interiors and overlays to those interiors. Cargo system refactor.
That's going to be just such a thing.
Yeah. End date has been extended from when they thought it was going to release with 318 for IAE to when they think that 318, when they're trying to release 318 at the beginning of December. So the 6th of December is a Tuesday. Yeah. So, that's to be expected. And the environmental space missions sprint was end date was moved up earlier because they removed work from the teams working on it in order to work on something else. Same thing with freight elevators. They didn't get work done faster. They just reallocated these teams to different features.
Which means one of two things will happen. We'll get a
for
lesser version
missions,
of it.
Freight elevators has moved closer from 2023 or 522 to 39, but they added work. They didn't remove work. So
interesting.
Yeah, to me, this is the freight elevators are a priority. Environmental space missions are not.
With the environmental space missions, either we're getting a lesser version of it, or it's being stopped, and so they removed the work that was past the stopping point.
Yep. Yeah, they're like,
and
okay,
they'll be
put this on hiatus. We'll come back to it later. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Which environmental space missions are flavor, and they're trying to get the game done in a more substantial way. I wouldn't be shocked if their flavor missions went away. Like the cargo effect, racing, salvage, bounty hunting, repair, personnel transport, factories, RaStar,
they work
Squadron
off
42.
Of probability
there are
volumes.
so many more bulky things to work on than flavor.
They work on probability volumes, and those probability volumes are probably not a priority for the systemic services and tools team that is working on quantum. Those people are busy with the quantum economy stuff, not the probability volume stuff. They'll come back to that after they get the quantum economy in.
The environmental space missions was EU landing zone 1.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying though. If the systemic services and tools team is working on the aspects of quantum that is the economy,
Mm-hmm.
if that's the focus, that's why the priority is freight elevators, and teams are being people are being added to work on that,
It's a
and they
huge audio sprint too.
deprioritize. Yeah, and they deprioritize the environmental space missions because economy trumps the probability volumes of you running into the quanta as they're flying around through space. So
And it's how long is
yeah.
that? So in the freight elevators,
Mhm.
there's like a month-long audio sprint.
They're poorly maintained and they make a lot of racket. Yeah. The
Yeah.
elevators, you get in it and you press the button and it like lurches and makes a bunch of noise and you're like, am I going to die? Yeah, that's what the freight elevators are.
The original Levski and Grimhex elevators.
Exactly. Yeah.
They had actually an amount of random, some RNG to it on how quick they'll start. Where am I going here? I was going to elevators. Freight elevators, audio. It is almost with a 2-week period, or no, with a 2-week period in the middle of the sprint, just straight out work.
Hmm.
A month of just audio work. That is insane.
Lockable containers. End date has been extended from June 21st of this year to the end of March next year. EU gameplay feature team, which is a downstream team, added 83 days of work. So, if the EU gameplay feature team, upstream team, is working hard on lockable containers, which are needed for hacking, because hacking is being worked on for Squadron 42, I wouldn't be surprised if hacking is one of those things. And I know I just said with the Legionnaire that the hacking is a dependency for it, and that's why it's not going into production. Well, if hacking isn't done yet, and if hacking is maybe going to be coming in Q1 2023, maybe they can't start work on the Legionnaire until after, because when we get hacking, it'll probably be a tier, it'll be the human, you're using your little hacking tool. It won't be ship, based hacking, from one, hacking one ship to another. Ship to ship docking does work. Yeah. And that is one of those things that they needed to get in for Squadron 42. But for
the Merlin was the first in game with it.
Yeah.
For the Legionnaire, it is possible for more ships to do it, but the ships we have in game are not equipped to do it.
Yeah. But I think that we can get FPS hacking first, and that they'll work on hacking for ships using terminals later. And that's probably why the Legionnaire was delayed, because they're getting the FPS hacking in first, and then they'll work on the rest of the hacking later. And so they don't want to start production on the ship until that's ready, or getting closer to.
Where are we at here? Okay, I'll wait a little minute. I'll wait a minute until I point one out. It depends on how far you go. When we get to the player interaction, I want that one.
Player experience or player
interaction experience.
Oh, okay, I got you. New interdiction scenarios extended. They're just adding more work. But notice how it was here and now it's here. Added 29 days of work. So it'll look like that sprint got extended 3 whole months or whatever it is, 4 whole months. It's not. They just took, they were working on it up to then, and then they put it down for a bit, and then they pick up working on it again. And so it looks like they're working on it the entire time, but they're not. They work, the extended from mid-February to end of June. So they'll work on it out to here, whatever the current sprint is. They'll put it down, and then at some point in here, they'll pick it back up and work on it out to the end of June, possibly longer. So that's how that works. New player experience extended, a lot more work added, but that's a good thing because it means that it's a priority. We know that it's a priority. They've been talking about it. What's his name? Not Sean Tracy. Who's the other? He's got the very steamy eyes.
His name left my head this section.
He's the other pillar director.
Yep.
Anyway,
Name's completely gone.
He talked about how the new player experience is a big priority for them. So hopefully we will be getting updates in ISC to see how that's coming along. I imagine with the amount of work that they're scheduling and what they're doing, and how they've been talking about it in the monthly reports, that we'll be seeing some of it in the not too distant future. Yeah, Robert Rose, I think the Legionnaire is a fantastic dropship, and it will probably be my primary dropship when I have a normal sized team. You know, if you don't have more than 10 people, you don't need a Valkyrie. The Legionnaire is a great little ship for it. You don't need to. Docking isn't the only thing that it does. It'll be a great dropship, especially because you have.
It would be nice if we could remove the. That's funny. They have a Daniel Craig. The people area, the seating areas in the Valkyrie with a cargo one, so you could have one cargo, one people.
Mm-hmm.
Because my family has had minivans for like ever, and though we only most of the time we only have 2 people in the car, having the extra space is just good. So if I were to choose a people mover, it'd be the Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
It just would be. Even put the vehicles in the back, you know.
So we talked about freight elevators and how they're being prioritized because the Quantum team is most likely working really hard on the economic side of Quantum. But we know that you need freight elevators in order to have persistent hangars. And look at that. The end date for the sprints for the persistent hangars was extended because they added a whole bunch of work. The only problem is we don't know when this sprint starts. 76 days, so it'll start February? Basically the beginning of March is when the USPU gameplay feature team will be picking back up persistent hangars. So that will be a priority in the new year, as far as getting freight elevators, persistent hangars out, and those missions that they talked about, the big box missions. That's what these are for. And we can skip PES and server meshing because that one's just going to continue on into perpetuity. Nazeris, you said you want to talk about player interaction?
Yep. All right. Let me rejigger all the windows. Let's see here. So the player interaction experience. I was very interested because it was tier 0 hints and interactions and not the other 2. So I looked it up. Player experience tier 2 still has a good amount of work, at least a quarter of work to go, if not more. Tier 1 is already done. Lockers and inventory, and for those that don't know what lockers are basically the ability to swap loadouts instantly. So you build your loadout, you put it in a locker, you build your second loadout, and you can swap between them. That is the biggest thing about lockers. They're not just the cabinets in the ships. They're the thing to swap, like they did in the vertical slice when you put on your flight suit right before going out into the hangar to get on into the Gladius. You swapped your entire not deck crew, but not flight suit, whatever you want to call it, service suit. What do you walk around when you're not in your flight suit?
Clothes?
Sure, clothes. Not flight suit, and then he switched helmet, flight suit, whatever else he had on him, all the way over to that. So he has pistol on him and everything. So he did it in one button, just hold F, switch out, and you're good. That's what a locker is. Inventory, I don't exactly know what this touches on inventory specifically, but that work has been completed. Hints and interaction to the experience that we're talking about that's actually on the progress tracker is much more nuances. The interaction, I'm pretty sure, could be the interaction that we actually saw in CitizenCon, possibly. That's completely speculative. But the fact that tier one got done before tier 2, that is actually a byproduct of the way that they're actually developing the game now. Specifically, how the focus have been on squadron and full features. So player interaction tier 0, 1, and 2 have all been worked on at the same time because they're all the same feature with different needs. It's basically the player interaction experience, the whole thing. And this is a direct byproduct of trying to finish a game. So really cool. And the visor, HUD, and helmet is coming much later. Not till Q2 at the earliest. But that will bring with it a lot of UI, specifically HUD and helmet. Not HUD, not helmet HUD, but HUD and helmet. Think of that what you wish. Updates. So I'm really interested to see how quickly we get player experience tier 1 into the game, because I want lockers to be able to swap loadouts. It's been like the one. No, there's gotta be a word for not flight suit. On duty, but not flight suit. There's gotta be a word for it. There's a word for everything.
I mean, I'm probably just gonna wear clothes, or
oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, you could be in like your
it's a uniform.
Your workwear, your like dungarees or So
like,
one thing that's interesting is the security network V1. Full implementation of the security system includes other features for which players may need a clearance level, such as doors and elevators. So this one is interesting. I think it's going to have to do with a lot of missions that are going to be coming forward later on. I don't think that this is the security service, though, but it's the security network. Because if you look at Bounty Hunter V2.
Oh, this is the anti-hack. Okay.
It says one of the services they use to support Bounty Hunter V2 is the security service. But if you type in security...
I think that is referring to the data of surveillance. This is referring to the basically what you're going up against when hacked.
Yeah.
So this is more akin to the resource network. That's more akin to Quanta.
Well, and then there's Security Network version 0, which is apparently already done. Initial implementation of the security system. This allows security features to know if players are trespassing without having to assign them a criminal rating. Also routes criminal sightings to the back-end communications network. So I think that Security Network version 0 is the security service that Bounty Hunter V2 relies on. And because there hasn't been any other additional work to it. But this is a much broader system. This is just a notification system.
The quantum simulation blurb says, reveal that CitizenCon 2019, the quantum simulation will serve as the background economy for Star Citizen. Thousands of unseen simulated entities will carry out trade, commerce, piracy, and security. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
It's probably like the uniform. Okay, so that's not what I thought it was. Security behavior, that's obviously just playing security guards. Surrender, spawn closets. Security hall. It's annoying that security can be a person. Yeah, everything else is just talking about NPCs as security.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only two security, like, not mechanics, services, not services, but what's it called? Mechanics, I guess. I guess mechanics works. Security mechanics.
I mean, they're building a holistic system, but the part that notifies you if a a criminal has been cited, it is
Mm-hmm.
already in. And so that's already in. It's already working. It already functions. And so the Bounty Hunter V2, is going to rely on that aspect, not the do you have permission to use the store or this elevator part. And other than that, there's just the unannounced vehicles that they added more work to, concept art, and concept art. So they're really busy on the new concepts. And then the vehicle tractor beams added 84 days of work. They didn't extend the sprint. They just added more work with the EUPU gameplay feature team. So yeah, they are definitely. We've been waiting on them to pick that back up. So I'm glad that they are prioritizing that. And that is it. Unless you have anything else you want to look at, Nazaris, for the Delta report of the Shiny Tracker. And hopefully we'll be able to get Shiny Hobo on here and actually do that interview and get some more of our questions answered.
No, I'm good. That's good. I'm just looking into tractor beam things.
So let's go ahead and close these.
Let's see, how many tabs did I end up racking up? I racked up 24 tabs.
That was really fast. That's a lot of tabs in a short amount of time.
All right, just everything go away. Just everything. Like, I have like the urge to save them all, and just start a new window. But no, we're done. We're done talking about the roadmap. We're moving on. They were research for the show. We can go on.
So for tonight, besides the Roadmap Roundup and the Delta report, we also have a Spectrum Pulse, because there's been a lot of conversation about RaStar since it was on Inside Star Citizen the other day. And a lot of people were really interested because they're like, oh, we haven't heard anything about RaStar in over a year. Well, we have. We just haven't seen anything. And we haven't seen anything as far as the tool being used, but we have seen the products of the tool being shown off. And when we show you these things and refresh your memory a little bit, you're like, oh my gosh, they have been using RaStar all year long. We just haven't been watching them actually do it, but we've seen the byproduct of it. So RaStar was initially shown off in the during CitizenCon 2951, so last year. And it's a tool made by the Planet Tech team, actually. It's not from the Montreal Tools team, who did all the work on Mighty Bridge and the procedural locations tool, which we know that the Planet Tech team has been working super hard on getting out the procedural planets. Procedural planets version 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're on version 4 right now, and updating all that. They also showed off the initial viewing of the rivers during that segment. And but yeah, the RaStar is really cool because, like the procedural locations tool, it allows the developers to really quickly make locations. The procedural locations tool is really a tool for making locations that are within a structure. And by when I say that, I mean primarily they use it for the caves. So going down under the planet, it's self-contained within a sort of architecture.
I think we were thinking of Todd Pappy.
Todd Pappy, there we go. Or the underground facilities, which again go down underneath the planet, but you can see it's a structure underneath something. And then space stations. So this is the exterior of the space station, and they have all of it working and nested around inside it. Whereas RaStar is on the surface of planets and moons. It's a tool that allows them to rapidly deploy the outposts and settlements and the derelict settlements as well onto the surface in a way that is really quick and easy for them to use, so that they can get these things out very quickly and in a way that's systemic and functional with other game systems. So it's really cool, and we're going to take a deep dive into it. After they announced it, we had never heard of it before, but after they announced it at CitizenCon last year, they updated us in the Roadmap Roundup for October 20th, 2021. RaStar, developing and implementing RaStar, a tool that allows the placement of modular structures on planet surfaces, including the deformation of surrounding terrain to accommodate it. This will eventually be used by players to place their own structures, such as with the Consolidated Outland Pioneer. So when they said this, everybody lost their damn minds. We're like, oh, they're finally working on the tool in order for us to build our own bases. Sweet.
I also found the quote about the Pioneer being turned into a fabrication facility and not a prefab facility.
Oh, do you have it up?
It's by Chris Roberts.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool. Well, I mean, that's as authoritative as it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The literal horse's mouth or horse's ass, depending on who you
ask. Chris Roberts a horse.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that's the other big part of it, is not only does it allow placement of these structures, but it also automatically makes the terrain conform to those structures. Just like if you were building a house now, you'd have somebody come in and flatten the building site for you. It's the same thing, and they don't have to do it. They don't have to have someone else come in and make a flat space for it. You don't have to worry about things popping through the bottom of structures anymore. So let's. I'm going to pull up my notes real quick because I don't have those up. So so what I did is we'll watch the first bit and I'll sort of narrate as we're going through it. What I did is I clipped all of the shiny bits from the video showing RaStar from ISC as well as from CitizenCon. And I turned them into one video, and so we're going to watch that first bit, and just so you can see it, and I will narrate with the sort of I wrote down a few bullet points from that presentation. So we'll pull that up in F11, and we'll play it. And so the goal is to replace the previous placement system based on prefabs to a better object container oriented solution. And the object container bit is very, you need to keep that in your mind, because the fact that these outposts are their own object containers is a part of the entire systemic solution, not just the being able to place them quickly. And so they can be used for homesteads, like we see here, or even the derelict settlements, which we've already seen in game. Those were made via RaStar. It's the same system, but we initially Nazeris and I were both like, well, wait a minute. They talk about derelict settlements, but we also have the derelict ships. Well, the procedural locations tool is what does the derelict ships. The crash ships and everything. Part of the procedural locations tool is making it so that way when ships crash, it randomizes. If you remember seeing that little clip of the reclaimer crashing into the ground and breaking into multiple pieces, so that way it does it automatically. A designer doesn't have to take break the ship apart and place the pieces all over the place. It literally does it based off of how they want to simulate that crash, as well as like the dirt trail as the reclaimer or whatever it is plows into the planet. That's the procedural locations tool. The derelict settlements is RaStar. But it's a modular system, as you can see here, and they're just clicking and placing, but they can also take one piece and then add another piece onto it in order to make something completely different. And not only is it a modular system for the actual buildings and structures themselves, but it's also modular in that they have all these overlays that they can put onto the different types of structures in order to make it look differently and create infinite combinations based off what they're going for as part of the design. And it's not just the exterior. So here's exterior overlays, and you can see them just, clicking. Okay, I've got this, these overlays. I'm going to place this one, this one, this one, and it automatically nests in there. It gives them a little preview of what it'll look like. Boom, it's done. The designer doesn't have to come in and individually place all these things. Boom, done. Boom, done. And they can also do it for the interior. They have interior overlays. So people didn't get it, but when they were showing off the settlement as part of the keynote speech or keynote thing in CitizenCon 2951, all of that was done using RaStar. That's why they're showing this off. Does it look familiar? Because it was a settlement made with RaStar, and they were demonstrating what they did with RaStar. People didn't connect the dots. But you can the interior is made the same way as the exterior with overlays. It's blank room and overlay. And they have multiple they've been working really hard to create tons and tons of different overlays that they can just throw in there based off what they need, the designers need. And yeah, so the artists create lots of small modular parts, whether they're exterior structures or not just only structures, but also, I don't know Nazeris, what do you think, what would you call like the refinery sections, the farming bits, I don't know what to call those. Oops.
Production modules.
Yeah.
Building modules in your production modules.
Yeah, production modules is a good name for it.
Functional modules.
Yeah, because it's not just a hab module. It's, that they perform some other function. They've been showing those off to us with the refinery looking things, and there's been like greenhouse ones and
solar panel ones, server ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I have literally
Storage.
every thumbnail they've shown on ISC saved to my computer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you can see how as they're placing
those.
it, the terrain automatically deforms and creates sort of a foundation, foundation to put it on. So let's go back to the browser. And so they mentioned they've been talking and before we do that, so it was an unannounced thing on the progress tracker, and then they made it announced. And RaStar has been worked on by the Planet Tech team since before, at least the beginning of the advent of the progress tracker in January 2021, because the progress tracker doesn't go back before this. So they've probably been working on it even longer. They've been working on that tool for a long time. And so they have been working on it for a long time, and then they showed it off to us here, and they've been continuing to work on it ever since, and now it's getting a VFX update as well. But we'll just go through a couple of the monthly report updates, and then we'll watch the rest of that clip that I made and show you a few images to demonstrate what they're doing. Work continued towards final on the colonialism outpost, because that's the theme that we're seeing right now. That's not the only theme that we're going to see. It's just one theme of as far as the outpost structures go. They will make more themes, just like they're going to use RaStar for more than just outposts, with more variants and modules being completed in conjunction with the new RaStar tool. Gaining a wider feature set, the team began dedicated playtesting in the lead up to wider distribution across the systems they'll first be seen in. So there's the greenhouse, as Nazeris coined them, the production modules. That one maybe like it looks like it's part of maybe it's water storage. That's cool.
Water storage, fuel storage.
Look at how big this farm is compared to the little domed ones that we see on moons right now. Like
those ones you can actually
more of them
farm
here.
with.
Yeah, there's a lot of
to
food
build to
being
metric
made
for
there.
some reason. Why would they build a farm to metric? I wonder.
Yeah, space farming. Yeah, but this was in the March monthly report. And where did it go? There it is. Yeah. The Plant Tech team this is the June monthly report. The Plant Tech team focused on bug fixes to help unblock the sandbox teams. They also looked at module placement fine tuning for RaStar and further developed automatic placement validation. That's not RaStar. July. Was it in this one?
Yeah, the automatic placement stuff is all the props. That's what they're talking about with automatic placement.
Yep. Yeah, automatic placement. So that way, it's just a click and boom. A designer doesn't have to go in and fine tune hardly anything. Collision detection was added to RaStar to prevent modules from being placed when they overlap with geometry too. I'm thinking they're talking about planetary geometry in this one, or something different. Because it's supposed to it deforms the terrain around it.
Unless they want to, use it for underground bunkers and they need to clip through the terrain.
Yeah. The other thing is maybe geometry from like other overlays and modules, so that way like you can't place a structure on top of the farm and have everything get all jacked up. And there we go.
August 22.
August 2022, the RaStar tool also received a usable tech refresh to make it usable with built-in editor tools, while additional efforts were made to improve stability, usability, and responsiveness. And we'll talk more about that here in a few minutes when we get back to the video, because I've got more notes from that section as well, from the ISC. September 2022, the Plant Tech team are in the process of delivering RaStar V1. So the full, what they've been using right now is they've been using the tool for like over a year now in order to, actually well over a year now. As they've been developing the tool, they've been using it, the developers, in order to provide feedback to the people making the tool so they can add more features, do more bug fixing. Essentially, the developers who are using the tool and have been for a year plus now are doing exactly what we're doing for Star Citizen itself. They get a tool, they get the tool handed to them, like, okay, you can use this in order to make a outpost, / settlement. And, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Okay, here's my feedback. It's really good for this, but we needed to do that. I ran into this bug. This caused it to crash. And they continue to work on it in order to get it out to version 1. Let's see. Blizzrad, do you think they will let us populate our outposts with our own choices of furniture? Yes. Yep.
There are concept images of several different furniture outlet. There we go. Furniture stores. I've seen a IKEA-esque, basically just cheap furniture, but also a luxury version. That may be something I could do. I could do a Spectrum Pulse on, not Spectrum Pulse, a Scanner Anomaly on shops. I'm going to put that in the document.
Yeah. Well, because not only, would you be buying furniture for your outpost out in, BFE outside of the UEE, but also furniture for your apartment, your luxury
I don't think I want
apartment that
turtle
you have.
furniture in my apartment.
Yeah. But that's why there's multiple different types, like Naz was talking about, different, the high end, medium and low end.
It's the reason, like, I doubt anyone here has seen any of my Star Citizen streams, but every time I walk past a bench, I'm like, I want that in my apartment, because we'll have that ability eventually.
Yep.
Unfortunately, player apartments was removed.
Yeah.
And that's farther down the road now, but eventually we'll have apartments, and we'll have entire bases that we can build. And yes, we will be able to furnish them. Even bigger ships we'll be able to furnish.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually you will be able to place those things. And when we're using RaStar, I imagine that, not only will you be able to place the structures, but you'll be able to place certain overlays, but more overlays as far as function, less as far as design. Like, I don't think they're going to give us access to the pirate outlaw overlay just so you can make it look dirty and dingy. You're going to be able to build your own base as if it's being built brand new, with different forms and function, and then you'll be able to populate it with your okay, here it's got the bar, kitchen area in it, and then you'll be able to put things in it. So it'll
I
be like a
imagine we could get like crates or something, like
yeah,
overlay crates. So we go to let's just say Area 18, and we buy like the bar kit, and we haul that over to our where we're building our base, and we go into the God mode, RaStar, whatever function that takes
God
for the
mode.
player. Um, and then we just apply local overlay, and it just takes that crate and applies it to whatever module we're trying to apply it to.
Yeah, all the decorative stuff though, I think that's going to be on you, not part of RaStar. That'll be you placing things in game.
Yeah.
Um,
Just remember the not iCache, the now what was it? The entity graph is
mhm,
a almost limitless possibility of items anywhere and everywhere
yep.
because the graph form of data management is so fast and cheap to computationally cheap. You placing banners all over your wall, carpets all over the place, just sacks of stuff everywhere is just okay to do. So, being an interior designer in these spaces can totally be a thing. Something we're going to talk about later. We're going to bring up iCache again. That's going to be fun. It wasn't fast enough. It wasn't robust enough. It wasn't cheap enough to do this kind of data movement with all these different items. So, yes, interior design will be a thing. Exterior design will
um,
be a thing.
yeah. So this, as they're getting ready to release RaStar V1, this part's really interesting. The Planet Tech team are in the process of delivering RaStar V1, the internal tool used to build modules and populate planetary environments with outposts, derelicts of outposts and settlements, and cities. This is the first time they
Mm-hmm.
said the city part. That's why this is very important because like whoa, you're gonna use RaStar for what? And the way that they're making it is so that way designers can, just like they built the modules, they can build modules of cities instead of it just being a module that's just a part of a structure. It'll be a module with like a neighborhood based off of a type of design, and it'll have everything in it, and they can lay it out. It'll be like like Sim City, instead of just doing the RTS base builder that they're showing you now. Um, it'll be more of a Sim City type tool for the developers in order to build cities at scale, and then those cities will function like that.
Now, they haven't said if players are going to build cities. I just want to make
Yeah,
that clear.
we're not gonna.
However,
Yeah, I can guarantee
the
that.
way to curtail just a player making a city the size of a moon, you still have land claims. Um, and you still have the entire quanta system to be able to do exactly whatever CIG wants it to do. So let's say you decide, I'm going to go build somewhere not lawful. So the land claims are free. The problem is if you run across resources or if you get too big, like you will have to manage that city. We're assuming we're going to build cities here. You have to get the resources to build it, which means you're probably going to want a return on investment. And if you're building an unlawful place, you're already cutting out let's call it 70% of the population. We'll just use that as just a throwaway number. 70% of the entire game's population that is only lawful, players and NPCs. So you're already losing profit there, and you have to make sure those outlaw NPCs aren't trying to steal your stuff, aren't trying to blow you up. So more than likely, if you're trying to build something at a scale of a city, you're going to want lawful space. You're going to be certified by the UEE as a town, and get the protection that a land claim has. So they have tools and levers that they can pull on to make sure that you're not doing like city building, like place this city here, place that city here, place there, just bringing about useless things all over the place. The land claim system is a
These
big
things will,
thing for that.
yeah, land claims, and do you have the funds? Even
You
if
have the
you're
funds,
just a mega
funds and
millionaire in
materials.
SC, building your own city, I don't think I don't think anyone's going to be that rich. Even orgs, and
Just Squadron City.
and doing that in unlawful space means that someone has to bring all those materials there. So, but I do like, as far as your outpost, like Blizzard says, if I can build an apartment block on a land claim, that will be incredible. I don't see why you couldn't build a a
To build an
multiplex.
apartment block, though, think of this as a city builder or an RTS. To build an apartment building, you need your prerequisites. So, in something like City Skylines, to build houses that are worth a darn, you need electricity, you need water, and waste management.
Mm-hmm.
So, your land claim is what, a kilometer big? You have to fit now an apartment block. We have power generation to power that, and the water management, and the waste disposal. And so all that has to fit on your 1 kilometer block. It's not going to be just one land claim for a city. Plus, you're going to need parking. Plus, you're going to need, I assume, like, you want your apartment to do something, not just be a parking lot with a housing block next to it. So, factories or a miner, refinery, weapons manufacturing. They have thrown around the idea of letting us have factories, basically buildings that just do something internally that we don't interact with, that could produce something like weapons. So we get the blueprint, we can become a production facility for Grey Cat multi-tools or Bearing P4IR or something like that. I thought they were 4K by 4K. They may while.
I never paid attention to the land claims, honestly, so I can't speak with any sort of authority.
Oh, they made such a thing.
But yeah, the developers being able to use RaStar in order to make cities is really huge, because this is everybody
it's
always
4K,
says.
Yeah. Okay, so there was 2.
What? Oh, 2 different types?
Yeah, there was the plot, which is a 4K by 4K, and an estate claim, which is 8K by 8K.
Oh, an estate. That sounds fancy. That's why I don't have one. But this is with how fast they can place things with RaStar, and how quickly artists can make overlays and structures and modules things in order to add to RaStar. When people, the detractors of Star Citizen always talk about, oh well, it's taken them this long to build one system. Well, okay, that's a misnomer in itself. And you have all these other landing zones, and those are going to take forever. No, they're building tools so that way it doesn't. When they finally get around to making Terra, in the not too distant future, or even sooner than that, when they get around to making Sherman on Cascom in the Castra system, they're going to do it with RaStar. Because if you look at we're gonna pull it up. Sherman, Cascom, Castra. So this construction style is called monumentalism. And if you're looking for an interesting video on all the different architectural styles within Star Citizen, Space Tomato did one. Ironically, it wasn't Morphologist, it was Space Tomato, and he did one, but Space Tomato did one, and he even has like a timeline for when these different styles came in vogue throughout the life of the UAE. But this is Sherman, the city in the clouds on Cascom. Look at these structures. Look at the way that the city is laid out. And there's like the skyline and everything. But this is, this and the skyline, easy. Like they can do that. That's not a problem at all. But the other parts, like this is totally within the remit of RaStar. That there is no reason that they can't make RaStar do stuff like this with the way that they're building it, and in short order. And all they're going to do is just add different modules and different structures and different construction and different architectural styles for the developers to place these things. Yeah, Blizzrad, don't spoil it. Come on now. Wait. We're getting there.
Somebody's reading ahead.
Yeah, look, Blizzrad trying to do his extra credit and get points and stuff. Um, but yeah, so and cities. So October's tasks included bug fixes and usability improvements to better support production requirements. All these things so that way they can get things done faster and be more efficient. And then the October monthly report, the team closed out RaStar V1 and fixed the remaining bugs and crashes raised by the content teams. There were also various fixes submitted for rivers, and R&D began on WaterSim, blah, blah, blah. So RaStar V1 is out there. It's stable, it's working, it has its initial tool set, and the content teams are already going nuts with it. And you'll see what I mean by that here in a few minutes. But now they have the full initial version and with its initial feature set. But the Planet Tech team isn't done, and the artists and everything who have been making all the assets for RaStar are not done. They're going to continue to add more tools to it and add more features to the tool. But the base functions for it and the stable usability for it is out there and ready to go. And so the next thing that we wanted to look at is the sprints for Outpost, Homestead, Independent, and Outlaw. And a small home for AI to live and shelter. They consist of a central hub and a few optional internal and external modules. They provide the basic necessities to support a small group of people for an indefinite amount of time. So they've been working on the independent and outlaw themed outposts for a long time because these are the sort of the primary ones for Pyro. That's why they've been working on these. But they'll also be in Stanton, as we'll hear in a minute. Outpost theme variants. So they've not only, these are the first two, but now they're making variants. And they're adding, when they say variants, they mean the overlays to the outposts in order to take those base structures, those modules that you saw them placing, and adding different overlays in order to make variants of them for different functions, as well as the production modules that we're calling them now. You heard it here first, the Pathfinders podcast production modules. So adding themed variants to colonialism outposts, these guys. So adding themes to these. Oh no.
We screw up a tab.
I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. Adding theme variants to colonialism outposts, which allows us to create different points of interest in the world. Themes will range from abandoned, mining, research, and many more. So depending on what the function of it is, they will put different overlays onto and different. Not only will they create different layouts, but they'll add different overlays to it in order to give those outposts a theme as well, and a theme that also fits a function. And those things that they are adding to it will have function. And they've shown it to us in an ISC recently, where they showed that you would be able to go up and interact with different item ports on like the refinery looking production modules. So let's go back to the video, and we're going to watch the bit that I clipped from the recent ISC, and I will narrate that clip with a few of the notes that I took. So RaStar is currently in use, placing outposts throughout both Stanton and Pyro. Stanton and Pyro. So obviously they're showing us work on Pyro. I forget which planet that is. Pardon me. Oh man. But if you look here, the UI is a lot different than it was here. And so one of the improvements they've made is they've been making a lot of changes to the UI and the usability.
They made sure no underscores.
Yeah, yeah. um,
So for
so
a little bit of context on the comment,
go for it.
the underscores, when you have underscores in your title or name or whatever, not title, not like gameplay or title, but like in UI things, is almost always an in-dev thing. The fact that this UI now has no underscores is telling that it is a close to, if not a final production thing. This is the version 1 that we've been talking about, or that Tree's been talking about. So seeing it go from everything has underscores in it to now everything doesn't, it's a small thing, but it is a clear sign of being at least close to production ready.
Yep. Quote at the beginning of the video. So the whole purpose of RaStar is to make it easier for the devs to place locations at the surface of a planet, and in the end, it will be the system for players to build their bases, reiterating that we're going to be using a version of this tool in order to build our bases. So the changes that they've made since they first showed it to us, um, or sorry, changes it changes the planet and terrain required. Let's see. Oh yeah, so before RaStar, um, anytime the Planet Tech team came in or Planet Content team came in and made changes to the planet, oh, we're gonna add a valley here or some hills there, they would have to go back and replace all of the outposts on the planet in order to make sure that they were properly aligned with the terrain. And so, any changes to any planet, any revisions or moon required somebody to go back in and recheck all their work with the outpost placement. That's why there's a lot of bugs with the current outposts that we have. So, but RaStar directly follows the terrain topology, and so that's no longer required. If the Planet Content team adds, a river, a canyon, a mountain, the RaStar modules will automatically adjust the terrain around them, so that way they remain in place and still function appropriately.
I wonder if, let's say, they place down an outpost and then a different developer adds a river. Will the river see the raised terrain that the outpost made and snake around the raised terrain that the outpost made?
I imagine it should. I don't
Depends
know.
on which kind of order they're doing it. Wow, that would. This is
Yeah.
why they have dynamic tools, because that kind of stuff, like, you can't plan for that.
Same team though, so hopefully they're talking to each. I imagine they're talking to each other because the guy in the, it was the RaStar presentation came after the Rivers presentation from the
Hmm.
Planet Content team, as part of the Planet Content team presentation from CitizenCon 2951. So I
Yeah.
imagine they're smart enough, but it'd be pretty cool if there was an outpost that had, a riverfront outpost or one with a lake view.
Or I want a river running through it and a bridge over it.
Mm, yeah, yeah, or if it's on either side of it and there's a bridge connecting the
Yeah,
two
that's what I mean. Yeah.
parts of the settlement. Yeah, that
Hmm.
would look really cool. Um, so yeah, the with RaStar it allows for a lot more granularity and modularity of the locations, as well as because they can produce them so quickly, which you saw in the first bit of the video, and now you can see them here very quickly making, um, a location basically in its entirety in a matter of minutes. Um, but the changes that since last CitizenCon um, is they added a whole bunch of UI updates, which you saw here, and enhancements that improve their productivity and ease of use. So what they did is they were able to nest in a whole bunch of the things that go together. So that way, oh, I'm going to put a hub here or an entry here, and then by putting it, it automatically opens up the things that are nested into it, so it gives you options automatically to, okay, you don't have to go looking for the different overlays for it in order to place it, and then give it character. It's just automatically right there. They're grouped together as part of the new UI system, and this is building blocks, so it works really well as they're making things for it. um, the other really cool thing, um, whoops, why does it do that? The other really cool thing, and this is kind of like what they did with Mighty Bridge, and I almost wonder if they used Mighty Bridge for it in order to do this, but they were able to make it so that with RaStar, they were able to integrate it with different tools, and I don't know what these tools are, but they and I didn't write down the names, but when he was presenting on it, he said we were able to integrate it with a bunch of tools that devs use within the editor, so the editor in game. Um, uh, so that way things just automatically are placed or they automatically function. It's really efficient system, kind of the way Mighty Bridge works with the editor. It allows devs to use tools and software from outside the editor and automatically bring things into the editor, into and essentially into the engine. The other really smart bit, as you can see, this is really cluttered. There's a whole bunch of things that they've added in with the overlay, and like all of these things are essentially every single thing that they have placed as part of this overlay, every single individual thing is an entity. And so what they did is they converted over the object containers for the for RaStar and the outposts that they create into streaming object containers. So that way, RaStar and all the outposts created with RaStar function with PES. And these things will quickly and efficiently stream in and out, but are also quickly and efficiently stored and edited. So it doesn't, it is not, like Nazeris was saying, it is not computationally difficult or challenging for the server and the client to stream these things in and out of the game. Compared to how it would have been otherwise, compared to how things are with the current outpost system. So that's super interesting to me. The connector system. So the connector system is basically this. When they're placing parts of a module and then adding another part in order to create an entire structure, they call that the connector system. Well, the connector system not only allows it to designers to place things like that and make it just fit in order to make whatever type of structure they want, but they've also converted over the connector system to the item port system. And the item port system is what will allow these outposts to work as part of resource management. So the item port system, when we saw that video a while back, and I should have gotten the clip, but I forgot about it, where you can interact with the different production modules and everything else that requires resources as part of the outpost. That will all be plugged into the resource network system, so that way these outposts, based off of what they place, will automatically factor into that system and generate, production and need, based off of, okay, well, we need, this to make power, but if we have power and this, we produce this, blah, blah, blah. So it's actually a living, breathing environment. And so you can see here, if we go back to the beginning, you can see that they place some modules, and it's kind of simplistic, and you've got some overlays, the initial ones that we got shown, and then there's a interior overlay. So here's the homestead, the outpost homestead. They're showing us that, but then here's the exterior. So independent and outlaw. The ones that we saw last year were the independent ones, the lawful looking ones. Here's an example of an outlaw exterior themed variant with all sorts of different overlays placed on it to make it look like an outlaw theme. And this would be like a homestead one. They've got their gardens, your habs. But then they also showed us the interior overlays that they are working on for a little bit farther. for the outlaw ones, and you can see how this is way different. But all of these items, these aren't placed individually. These are placed as part of an overlay, just like this guy. And it's just an overlay that somebody created, and then a designer clicks and drops it, and it's ready to go. And so they've created tons and tons of interior overlays in order to add variety to these outlaw outpost themes, the outlaw themed of the themes of these outposts. And it's super cool. And you can see how it's really easy for them to add and remove things and change, the entire look and feel and function, with just a few clicks, because artists have been hard at work creating all of these different overlays that are really easy to place. And all of this stuff is functional. It ties into all the systems. There's, here's an example of the production modules that we're talking about, like some sort of refinery system, with storage for probably, maybe quantum fuel over here and hydrogen fuel over here, or vice versa. Really cool to think about that all this stuff is going to, not just look cool, but actually function within the game and within the game's economy.
Actually, those blades are cooling racks. The refinery is the big tall one.
Okay. See, I don't know about that stuff.
I have every thumbnail.
Yeah. But you can see they've not only been working on the independent and outlaw, but we're also very likely going to be seeing the additional themes in the near future. They just showed us in both the CitizenCon presentation and the ISC one, the independent and outlaw themes for the outposts, the homestead outposts. But these other ones aren't, they're going to be outposts, but they're not going to be homesteads. They're going to be outposts for mining, outposts for research, abandoned ones, other different things. They're not going to be homesteads. It's not going to be someplace that, it's not going to be based around you live there or a gang lives there, if that makes sense.
Could you imagine if next CitizenCon is welcome to Cascom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I would have a stroke. But here's a really great image from the subscriber vault, showing, how, what this looks like at night, without all the overlays placed on it. And it's still that same base structure with a few things dropped onto it as part of the connector system. But then they just drop overlays on it, and it makes it look entirely different. Same with the interior. You're like, oh my gosh, this must have taken forever. No. Designers, went through and they were able to quickly make these overlays, and it's, a lot of work. But then once the overlay is made, they can put different overlays in, together in combination in order to create infinite variety. And it's not just for, they're showing us the ones for the homesteads for independents and outlaws, but there's going to be a whole lot more in the very near future. And so the most important quote at the end of the IFC, and we're just going to listen to Jared say it. Because it's super important. Because it's not, we just went through the Roadmap Roundup and the Progress Tracker and the Shinytracker Delta Report. But wait, there's more.
And salvage in the not too distant future, and that the RaStar tool, first introduced at last year's CitizenCon, is already being used to populate the planets of Pyro in next year's 4.0 and Stanton in this December's upcoming Alpha 318. Now don't forget that this year
nobody's saying anything about that. Nobody is saying anything about, wait a minute, we're getting outposts in 318 in Stanton? Everybody, when it gets to this part, so many people just tune out of ISC or don't, or have already left.
Yeah.
But this is a
that's
huge...
That's where they hide the nice stuff.
This is a huge announcement.
And that the RaStar tool, first introduced at last year's CitizenCon, is already being used to populate the planets of Pyro in next year's 4.0 and Stanton in this December's upcoming Alpha 318. Now don't forget...
I cannot tell you how excited I am because they told us a while back, and I don't have the yeah, they stopped on next year's Pyro before listening anymore. Exactly, Robert. And this is the context that so many people miss because they don't pay attention. That's what Nazeris and I do. We are all about the devil in the details. But when they, I forget, Nazeris, do you remember where they said that they told us that there was going to be like 52 outposts in Pyro?
It was the smallest comment somewhere. It
And I
might
can't
have
remember where
been
they
the
said
Chris
that.
Tyler talk. It might
Well,
have, like, it was a small comment, just like, and the 50, we're adding like 50 something to
Yeah,
Pyro.
I can't remember if it
And
was
everyone,
in a live
everyone
thing.
assumed like, yeah, sure, after we get Pyro and crap.
Yeah, Pyro
no,
will launch with 52 outposts, but if they're already building them for Stanton, and they have 52 for Pyro, that means there's probably going to be quite a few getting added to Stanton.
And that is, we're getting these outposts alongside, or these homesteads and what are they called? They're specifically homesteads and outposts, not outposts, possibly outposts. Anyway, in addition to the ones we already have.
Yeah,
they're not removing the old metal box outposts. Those are semi-permanent, newer structures. The style we have are much older, permanent structures.
Yeah. Well, and the ones that we're getting, I wonder if they're going to be limited on where they place them. Like you'll see them on Hurston and maybe Daymar. Because it would look, I mean, have they created variants in order for them to be placed so that way they look at home on Microtech? But either way, those are not listed on the release view. Those are going to be the getting outposts in Stanton is going to be one of those things that is added to 318. Oh, by the way, because 318 was delayed, well, we were already working on these, and so we're going to drop them as part of 318. And you'll probably see them get added to the release view, like right before 318 drops, if not like after the fact, because they've done that before.
Blue's about to say, it's funny, they used to say that they were hitting an entity limit for Stanton, but they keep finding ways to cram stuff in. They said that most right before they removed Nyx, and right after they removed Nyx, they also got server-side OCS working, which gave them a lot of headroom for adding entities. On top of that, they've been optimizing, and PES basically just uncaps that completely.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there is some theoretical limit. I'm sure they probably know where it is by now.
Well, so the PES makes it so that way the server can stream entities in and out. Because the server-side object container streaming gave them some ability to do that, but a lot of things didn't stream in and out. Even, that they were permanently on the server once they were loaded in. The other thing is it would stream it out of processing. It would still be in memory. And so like when a server loads up, the server loads up with everything in the universe in memory. As far as like a base version of the universe. And then
until
more
players
things
start
get
adding
added.
their own crap in.
Yeah, and then more and more things get added, and that's how the servers run out of memory. Well, now the server will not load up with all that stuff in memory, and it won't store it in memory once it loads it up. It'll only bring it into memory and into processing when it needs it, and when it's done with it, it'll update it, and it'll be updating it the entire time, but it'll update it at the end and say, okay, it's streaming out. It is no longer in memory, no longer in processing. So server-side object container streaming helped a bit. It didn't give the performance gains that they wanted because the server still ran out of memory. The processing capacity was still there for longer, but the server would eventually still run out of memory and still had an overhead count. But yeah, the PES is super exciting, and like the PES is allowing for things like these outposts. These outposts are built in order to take advantage of PES, that we wouldn't have seen them we probably would have seen them in like a 319 patch, afterwards, because they needed PES and as part of 318, and they just weren't ready yet. Well, now that 318 is so late that it's basically what 319 was going to be, we're getting a lot more added to it than we would have thought. So and those little cheeky announcements that people miss out on, congratulations, you guys who have been hanging out with us in chat, you're like, oh my gosh, everybody else missed that, but and you can go forth and spread the good word that, Jared said live on camera, and he wouldn't have said it live on camera if it wasn't going to be a thing, that Outposts are coming to Stanton in 318. There you have it. But that is all that we have for this evening's episode of the Pathfinders podcast.
Did you want me to read the bit on the Pioneer?
Oh, yeah, you have it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Been sitting here waiting.
Oh.
All right. So it was,
what was
in
the before
Q&A.
you do that?
Yes.
I'm gonna see if I can find the. Here, I'm gonna transition us back to the other scene. I'm gonna see if I can find the Outposts and Pyro. However many.
Okay. You want me to wait till after you know that, or just
No, go for it. I'm gonna look
All
while
right.
you're reading that.
So this was in an AMA, not Q&A. An AMA recap of the which one was this? October 9th, 2020. Star System Birthday 2020 AMA recap. And it was just buried in the middle of it. Can you elaborate on the current thinking of how base building is supposed to work? Chris Roberts. We have done some pretty exciting plans. Yeah, we had some pretty exciting plans on base building / player settlement front. One of the fallouts of iCache, which we've been working on for full persistence, and every time we say iCache, just assume iCache is no longer a thing and just put in PES. The state of locations of all dynamic objects in the universe of Star Citizen is that recording and restoring a building you've just constructed is really no different to remembering where you dropped your coffee cup on some distant planet, or which shelf you placed it in your hab. Basically, iCache will enable us to allow all of you to settle the stars. When we first came up with the concept of player-built outposts, the land claims iCache hadn't been technically designed, or land claims, there's no period there, iCache hadn't been technically designed, but now we have a system that will have a much higher degree of fidelity in remembering where each building or component is and what state it is in. So rather than just dropping down a singular outpost, you'll be able to place down various structures and connect them to things like power, generators, turrets, resource collectors, hydroponics domes, and so on. That basically is just RaStar right in the sentence. In parallel with this, we've been working on tools to build settlements or homesteads, RaStar again, for both artists, designers, more like RTS godlike view, and players a first-person view. So RaStar for us won't be God mode. That is something that I did think, but no, we'll be using RaStar in a first-person mode. That's going to be interesting. With this, we've been rethinking how the Pioneer will work to make her more flexible rather than just spitting out a prefabricated outpost. We want her to be more of a mobile fabrication facility. That would be near the the way I can read, I swear I can read, would be near your building site. With the Pioneer, you'll be able to build these structures without having a ship in the component part, without having to ship in the components parts, as long as you have supply of raw materials. So raw materials plus Pioneer equals components of base. Which means they have a system in mind that you can just hull E, hull C, hull whatever in your base and just plop down a something you already have. So the Pioneer will let you build on site. So there's shipping in and there's building on site. You don't need a Pioneer to build a homestead, but if you want to build a decent settlement, you'll want to build something relatively quickly, as opposed to having to fly in prefabricated components from major landing zones, you'll want to have a pioneer or a friend or someone who's willing to lend their services to you. And lastly, we're very excited about the gameplay that all of this will provide, and can't wait to see what kinds of player settlements sprout up over the huge amount of land area the game has. We will need iCache in and working before PES in working before we will see this in game. So expect more updates in the coming on this later next year. So iCache failed to meet expectations. That's why they had to switch over to PES and the entity graph. So entity graph is the replacement, not PES. Entity graph is the replacement for iCache. The entity graph is kind of the driving force behind PES, but PES is the persistence of it. The actual tech is called the entity graph. Just a little terminology thing. So that is base building being done. So we know it's going to be in person. So the Pioneer is now more like a construction crew than a building builder. Sure. So when you want to, either you can just buy the Pioneer out of game or in game, doesn't matter, and you can just have it by your outpost and just use it whenever you need to add on stuff, or maybe you rent it for a month or something in game, and you build onto your base for that month, and then you're done with the upgrade, so it goes back, or you hire a player, or you hire an NPC with one, same thing. So it actually does open up so much possibility with the Pioneer. This entire post just made me so much happier about just the entire base building mechanic. And now cities question mark. So yep, exciting times. Exciting times. So that is what I got on the Pioneer. Did you find your outpost things?
I have not, and I know I saw it. I just can't remember where. The other thing, I have to temper expectations. So we did get confirmation that there are derelict outposts coming in 3.18, and so I wonder if that's what Jared meant, because the derelict outposts are also made with RaStar.
Bliss said, so what I'm hearing is we should all buy Pioneers. No. One in each friend group should.
Yeah.
You should
crew the
everyone
Pioneer.
should know somebody with one. Or just rent it when you need it.
I'm going to find wherever that was posted, and I will include it in the show notes and in the description for when I post this on YouTube. And if you're in my Discord, I will find it there, and I will post it, and I will ping everybody, and you guys will have to deal with it. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys have found that informative. I'm, like Nazar said, I always say, we get excited about tools, and RaStar and the procedural location tool, are two of the coolest tools in my opinion. Because they've gotten so good at making planets and moons, and doing the spacescaping stuff, and it's nice to finally be seeing this year the tools that they're going to use to populate the systems with more than just pretty planets and pretty spacescapes. Everything from underground facilities to space stations, to the outposts, and the cave systems. All of that is really coming to fruition with these tools, and it's really excited to see. I need to wait for Pioneer LHD. Yeah, and it would be like a CB LHD, for a bunch of construction workers. But yeah, so let's see. I'm going to pull up my calendar because
I keep thinking, every time I think of using the whole series for like usable cargo, I always think about, I don't know if I posted it within your vision. No, you were talking on Paul's Discord a while back. The Lego ship I keep posting that I painted like the an Argo style.
Argo.
I'll post it into Tree's Discord after the stream, where the cargo is usable, and so if you're going to build a base, you pick that and a whole bunch of mule cranes. So that's your prefabs and your tools to move them around, instead of a pioneer on site building the stuff. I can't wait for base building. I can't wait for base building, and
Yeah.
being able to decorate halves. Those are like some of the biggest features I'm waiting for, just for like personal touches.
Star Citizen RTS and Star Citizen Colony Sim. Yeah.
Random Star Citizen
Yeah.
mode.
I love that game. The Stranded Alien Dawn is very RimWorld-esque, but very pretty, in a full 3D environment. So if you haven't tried that, I suggest it.
All right.
But yeah, I will keep an eye out for that post about how many outposts are coming with Pyro. And unless you have anything else, Nazers, I think that's all we have for this evening. Thanks again for everybody for hanging out with us and chatting with us. And I hope you have found this informative and interesting. I leave for work in the morning. I won't be back until late Sunday. Hopefully while I'm at work, I can download this off of Twitch, edit it, and get it up onto YouTube. And I will put it up as both a full-length segment, and then I'll break up the different segments because I've got a separate playlist for the monthly reports, for the roadmap roundups, for when we do scanner anomalies and spectrum pulses, all of that. But, and yeah, we will be back next Monday. We don't have a roadmap roundup this week. So next week, Nazareth, we got to come up with some content, dude. Oh gosh.
Well, the Aegis thing is happening next week.
The what?
My Aegis scanner anomaly.
Oh yeah, you had that plan. Yeah, because next week's Yep. Okay, so you got yours. I have to come up with content.
It's possible that we get Shiny there for that one if we did want to do it on a not roadmap one. Otherwise, we just have to reschedule for later. So stay tuned for that one. You'll probably know in Tree's Discord if that's actually going to happen.
We are going to get Shiny up on the. We are going to do an interview at some point because
Drake. Okay, so the whole thing on my Aegis scanner anomaly is it's going to be part of a series. I forget why I started with Aegis specifically. Because I was trying to get a friend to tell me what I should do, and he said, "Why is Aegis bad?" I'm like, actually, that's not a bad idea. So that's why Aegis at first, because it was a friend just who doesn't play Star Citizen.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah. So I will be doing every single ship manufacturer. Drake is just going to be, forgotten, left out, and last. No, I have a love-hate relationship with Drake. Like, their ships are just stupid functional, and they are just really good at what they do. But I love to hate them. This will be interesting because he just says Daryl, yeah, they are. The entire purpose of the interest was to quell uprisings. It was a giant railgun to blast civilians.
I like the Vulcan though. They're trying to rebrand themselves. I love the Vulcan. I think the
rebrand actually happened already. So the current state of the lore is Aegis is now a very good, robust ship manufacturer that makes really good, long-lasting ships. So I think the lore team has a little bit of work they need to do, and this is like something I can actually call them on. There hasn't been enough current Aegis lore because they did rebrand themselves. In the lore of the game now, they are a fine company. They're still a bit iffy. They don't get a lot of military contracts because the messers, but they are really good workhorses for civilians. So there already was the break where the company almost completely crashed, and they came back from mostly because the Retaliator being such a good ship in the civilian market.
Yeah, with the modularity, soon TM.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Modularity and just the repairability and the longevity of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they are actually in good standing with the populace.
Dang it! I had something that I was going to add, and
I'm sorry.
Because the Drake CEO is going to be at IAE, I'm really
Mhm.
hoping that they will continue that, and we will meet more of them. You know,
I
if
hope they
Drake is
start doing the
hosting-
rounds now.
Yeah. Yeah, next
And
year it's hosted by Argo, and we meet the Argo CEO and what
I
have
want
you.
RSI. I want RSI.
We could do that too.
Argo would be good. Argo would be good.
Everybody has to get their turn.
I mean, I want Argo. If Argo's gonna show up next year, I want my Argo Mega Freighter. I want my Argo either a whole series competitor or a whole E competitor. Give me my
Well,
Argo Mega Freighter.
What they could do in the future is, because the IAE has the central location on Severus in I forget the name of the city on Severus. You know, that's where the big IAE is, and they have satellite locations. They could have like different manufacturers sponsor different satellite locations each year. And if you want to go and see the CEO of this manufacturer, you know, at this location, you know, they'll speak and reveal a ship, you know, blah blah blah.
Then you'll see on Spectrum the next. Dude, that would be so cool. Having to
Yeah.
be in game at a specific spot
Yeah, in order to see the
get a
reveal.
specific show,
Mhm.
and then you have to read about it the next day, or realistically hours later as you watch all the other people's shows.
Yeah, yeah, they post
So
it on
cool.
YouTube like a day or two later or whatever. But you know, you can actually be there live for the reveal.
That would be so cool. Like, they have the technology. They have it.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
That'd be a cool in-game event and a cool way to release new ships.
Mm-hmm. The only problem is they'd leak before that happens.
Yep.
Unless unless they can find a way to dynamically update ships into the game on runtime.
Yeah. That would be, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing. Either way.
Or maybe they should just get better at naming their chips files.
Yeah. Well, I need to close this out because I need to get
Yep.
to bed because I have a long day ahead of me tomorrow and I'm still sick. But thanks again for hanging out with us, everybody. And Nazeris, if you want to sign us off.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for coming, as Tree said. And we'll be back next week with at least Aegis, possibly a shiny. Whatever Tree ends up doing for his scanner anomaly and a spectrum pulse that we haven't been doing yet. But we do have several things tagged in a list that we can do. But if you guys do have segments or ideas for future segments, there is obviously come join us live, or Tree's Discord, or my Discord, YouTube comments, Twitter, anywhere you can find us. Shoot us a line on what you think we should cover, especially if it's long amounts of data, like it's been talked about since the beginning of time itself, or something that's kind of nebulous and not exactly all there. Other than that, again, thank you for joining, and as always, be kind, everyone.
Have a good night.